Hello Team FD, a quick reminder before we jump into winners and losers to subscribe to Football Daily Premier League, our brand new channel where we match footage with in-depth analysis. Now it's only available to our UK subscribers at the moment, so apologies for that. We are working on it, but it's out of our control. Now let's see what happened in the weekend's games.
Welcome back to Winners and Losers, the show that looks at the highs and the lows around world football this weekend. Chris Hamill is back in the building, having spent 7 days or 5 days in Copenhagen.
Yeah, baby.
Petting dogs on trains, weren't you, Hamill?
Really good boys, left, right and centre in Copenhagen.
Yeah,
that
one of the Sunday
wrong,
vibes.
So, dogs, that is, just to clarify.
Let us know all about that. So fantastic work by the FD community, has to be said. But we're going to go on to the talking point now. There's only one man, Granit Xhaka.
Yeah, going to keep this very matter of fact to start with because we want the facts, don't we? We need to lay the foundations. Yesterday, a very tumultuous day of football. Granit Xhaka, the Arsenal captain, jeered off by large sections of the crowd after being substituted on the hour mark. Now, his numbers when he left the pitch were as followed. 1 assist, 3 tackles and interceptions, 35 passes, which was in fact the lowest of any Arsenal player, bar the forward 2, only 4 of which made it into the opposition third as well. So, did his numbers, did his overall performance warrant that reaction? Maybe a little bit. He was underwhelming. He wasn't disgraceful by any means on the night. And according to Amy Lawrence, the jeering moved Lucas Torreira, you know, that sort of tough tackling central midfielder, to tears on the sideline, which I'm not sure if that's kind of sweet or absolutely tragic. With Hector Bellerin having to comfort him, apparently. Lawrence also reported that the senior players had to go around Xhaka's house post-match to console their captain. Unconfirmed rumours that he may have left the ground early, but that might just be hearsay. Now, do you think that Emery has to take his fair share of the blame for this whole situation, that it wasn't just isolated to him coming off after a lacklustre performance? Because it took him an age to announce him as captain, which no doubt irked the player. And Emery is still no closer to finding a system in midfield which either, you know, gets the best out of Granit Xhaka or makes his inclusion logical. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's a bit of a difficult situation. Emery has to take his fair share of the blame, as do Arsenal fans as well. When you're in the stadium as a supporter, I don't think it's right to boo and jeer your own players. I understand that only really occurred because he was walking off slowly, but there were definitely ironic cheers towards Xhaka when his number was lifted in the first place, which I think started the whole situation. So Arsenal fans, that has to take some portion of the blame. But then Granit Xhaka's reaction, also wrong. I don't think you should be throwing captain's armbands as soon as he tells the crowd to f*** off. It's an absolute nightmare. Then he starts giving it the cupped ears, raising the arms, taking the shirt off. Is not captain's behaviour. So I can see why Arsenal fans were so irked, but equally don't boo your own players in the stadium. As for Unai Emery, he's a total disaster at the moment. He, for me, has got to lose his job. I do not understand what Arsenal have to lose by sacking Unai Emery. The situation is currently untenable. Mesut Ozil can't get in the squad. They're playing an awful brand of football. They've got no clear system. They're playing the wrong players in central midfield. I think that Unai Emery is having a nightmare and should be sacked.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of things you've said there, Joseph, in terms of the Xhaka response. On a human level, you can understand it. Does that justify it? No, but the guys had to put up with a lot of stick, both on and off the pitch. Had to disable comments on his social media accounts because he just can't trust the football community at large to be reasonable with him. Right. And he's just had a child. That brings an awful lot of stress with it as well, doesn't it? So why don't we lay off him for the time being? This does add another issue to Arsenal's maelstrom of issues currently at the club. Emery does appear to be at the epicentre. We're going to discuss his job a little bit later after this interview that we're about to queue up, because The Athletic released, as of this morning, an exclusive in terms of who else Arsenal could have gone for in 2018 before appointing the Spaniard on a permanent. We'll discuss that after this clip.
He's wrong. he's wrong, but we need to speak inside with him, and also with the club, and I think now also is to be calm about that reaction.
Right, so we've heard from the man himself there. The other 7 candidates that we mentioned before were Allegri, Arteta, Henry, Lopetegui, Ralph Rangnick, Sampaoli and Vieira. With Conte, Howe, Sarri and Rodgers not even making the final shortlist. What do you make of that collection of managerial talent? Who else would you have appointed if not Emery?
Oh, that's my reaction to that. I think Allegri would have been a great appointment. Arteta still felt a bit raw at the time, didn't he? I think it would have been quite risky, but then could have been quite fun. Henry, Lopetegui, Rangnick, Sampaoli and Vieira don't inspire me at all. I think the likes of Marcelino would probably be now considered. Although, is he that much of an upgrade on Unai Emery? I think if they get rid of him, they've got to go for a big hitter like Allegri. What Arsenal fans might be worried about is that it could end up being somebody like a Jose Mourinho. Now, I don't know whether it would be a Jose Mourinho and whether he would suit their style of football. I think more likely it will be Freddie Ljungberg on an interim basis.
Yeah.
But who it's going to be, if he does get sacked, which I don't think he will, but he probably should, I don't know.
No, Ornstein, who has the inside track, seems to think that he will last the year. And there is, of course, the option to extend his contract by another year, which at the moment seems completely unfathomable.
Yeah.
I think he might limp to the finish line at the end of this season, and Arsenal are going to have a serious rethink because Sanlehi backed him in the summer. They've spent money. It's up to him to deliver now. And despite being only 4 points off Chelsea, it just seems like their season is in complete turmoil at this point. What would you have done, guys, back home if you were the director of football? Who would you have appointed and why? Let us know in the comments below. Let's move on to our first winner.
Moving on to yesterday's big game between Liverpool and Tottenham Hotspur, where we're talking about the winners. Obviously, it's the Reds. This one was sent in by Sivet Berg on Twitter.
Yeah, and if you're not a member of Team FD, then click subscribe as displayed on screen right now. Turn notifications on to never miss a winners and losers. But let's break down the big match. Liverpool regaining their 6-point lead at the top as they came from behind to beat Tottenham 2-1 at Anfield. Spurs did take that shock lead after 47 seconds, didn't they, through Harry Kane's smart placed header. His 150th goal involvement in the Premier League in his 191st appearance. But the away side following that spent much of the game with their backs against the wall. Liverpool onslaught after onslaught. Paulo Gazzaniga, wow, what a game he had. Made numerous saves, didn't he? But couldn't stop the equaliser from Jordan Henderson, who scored in the 52nd minute. That was his first Premier League goal at Anfield since 2015 when he netted against West Brom. So that's been coming for quite some time.
One of the Premier's most underrated players at the moment, I think, Jordan Henderson. Been quietly brilliant for the last 18 months under Jurgen Klopp, but doesn't get any praise at all.
Ooh, quietly brilliant is quite strong. I would say maybe he's a little bit unfairly maligned, but that is probably going, towards the other end of the spectrum. Mane was then brought down by Serge Aurier, giving the referee no choice but to point to the spot. The Ivorian has now conceded 4 penalties in 48 games in all competitions since his Tottenham debut in September 2017. No Premier League player has given away more. And Roy Keane was less than complimentary about both Serge Aurier and Danny Rose on the left-hand side. Let's hear what he had to say.
2 Tottenham full-backs, dreadful. Dumb and dumber, I'd call them. I thought they were really poor. You can't compare it to the Liverpool 2 lads. Absolutely fantastic.
What do you mean?
The big
What do you
difference.
really mean?
Talking about the game of football today, the 2 full-backs for Liverpool, particularly going forward. Okay, there's parts of the game they can improve on defensively, but going forward, absolutely fantastic. And the 2 full-backs for Tottenham, I thought they were a joke. Really abysmal.
Some more gold there weaved by Roy. Back to the game though, because Spurs did rally well in the last 15 minutes, but Liverpool ultimately held out. Unbeaten now in 45 home league games. In fact, unbeaten in the last 10, wherein they've gone 1 goal down. So you think you've got one over them, and they just peg you back. And I tell you what, Jurgen Klopp, not to go to another video too soon, but he bloody loved it.
Super game. I loved it, to be honest. That was us in the best, at our best. So Yeah, average start, I would say. We started well, but then we conceded immediately a goal, which was a bit unlucky, of course, but that's how Tottenham is. So defending well, compact, and when you make a mistake, then the counter-attacks are incredible, to be honest. And got that goal, but the best thing of my team today was that you couldn't see any influence of the goal. We were not nervous, we were not nothing, we just followed the plan and filled the plan with passion, emotion, everything the right way, direction. The goalie of Tottenham, I'm not sure who's man in the match, but maybe he is it.
Sadio, actually.
Sadio, good idea as well.
Yeah, Klopp was pretty spot on there with his comments, in my opinion. Liverpool were totally dominant, really. 70% of the ball, 21 shots. And if it hadn't been for, like you mentioned earlier, Gazzaniga having his best ever game for Tottenham Hotspur, it really could have been ugly. He made 12 saves in 90 minutes. That's the most in a Premier League game since David De Gea, of course, against Arsenal, when he was hailed as one of the great goalkeeping performances in the Premier League. And this was right up there. I mean, if you looked at XG, 2-1 is about a fair scoreline, but Tottenham only ever really threatened on the break. They were very, very, very dominant, Liverpool, particularly in the full-back areas. Robertson and Trent Alexander-Arnold, brilliant again. Alexander-Arnold in particular, a constant threat down the right. An absolute pile driver, produced a great save from Gazzaniga as well. TAA managed 130 touches, 7 key passes. So
Wow.
not too bad. Fabinho continues his excellent form. I said it on Sunday Vibes that I think he's the best defensive midfielder in world football right now. I've got pelters, people saying that it should be Kante, and potentially agree, but whether or not I classify Kante as an out-and-out DM anymore remains to be seen, especially under Lampard, but a little bit higher up the pitch. Man of the match, anyway, went to Gazzaniga, which is positive, given that some of the other players in Tottenham were very poor. Dele Alli, Christian Eriksen, not good enough on the night. Neither of them produced a single dribble or key pass despite playing in that sort of creative midfield role. Son was pretty lively. I think he had 5 shots, but overall, Spurs now have to go to Everton away on the weekend. Not the easiest trip, although the Everton are struggling. I think Pochettino would have preferred something at home. Nevertheless, Liverpool just keep marauding forwards. Do you think they're going to win the Premier League title? It's a simple question, needs a simple answer. Click the I button up there and cast your vote.
First losers then come from Anderson Howard, and he's put the Saints in the bin. What's happened?
What's happened is they've got absolutely f***ed on Friday night. Absolutely humiliated. 9-0 at home by Leicester City. It was just ridiculous, wasn't it? Hat-trick for Purple Patch Perez. They only come along once a season.
Thing?
Definitely.
Is that still a thing?
What was that? His only goals so far for Leicester? Another Purple Patch. So he'll get 8 this season. 3 of them came in one game.
8 would be decent.
Vardy obviously also got a hat-trick. Chilwell, Tielemans and Maddison chipped in 2. Not a bad day for Leicester. They equalled the highest score in Premier League history and set a new record for the highest away score. It was also the Saints' biggest ever loss. Nobody is surprised by that one. And in my opinion, Hasenhuttl is hanging by a thread right now. They are in the relegation zone. They've conceded more goals than anyone else in the league with 25. And only 3 teams have scored fewer on 9. They're all over the place. The cause obviously wasn't helped when Ryan Bertrand was sent off early doors, but rightfully so. It was a definite red card over the ball. It was in the same combination as the first goal, though, which was a real hammer blow. And interestingly enough, they showed it on the big screen. The incident was played out on the big screen to the crowd, and the crowd could have no complaints because of that. It was great to see, in my opinion, and Southampton fans all went home by 30 minutes. There was about 25 people in the stadium when Jamie Vardy was shushing them at 9-0. He is under massive pressure though, Hasenhuttl. He's won just 10 of his 33 Premier League matches. They have regressed to Mark Hughes levels, and after the game, he took all the blame.
The only thing is, what I say is that I take the 100% responsibility for this result today. It was a no performance from my team, and this cannot happen in this way. And I'm only say the best I've seen today in the stadium was, beside the opponent, was the crowd that was staying in the stadium. Our crowd that was staying in the stadium. The guys that were staying here, how they act. is more than we deserve today, and I say apologise for this no performance today.
Leicester, meanwhile, are absolutely flying, currently occupy third, having won 4 of their last 5 matches, scoring 19 goals in the process. The other result was a 2-1 loss to Liverpool as well, lest we forget. They have been slightly fortunate though. Now, XG suggests that they should have scored 13 goals rather than the 25 that they had. That's the biggest differential in Europe's top 5 leagues. The next biggest is Barcelona with 9.5. Expected points actually suggest they should be 7th in the Premier League. So let's not get carried away with Leicester at the moment, putting together some very promising form and some delightful attacking performances. But let's just rein in expectations, okay? But they were pretty bloody good here, weren't they? Becoming just the second side to have players hitting hat-tricks in the same game after Pennant and Pires for Arsenal in 2003, which was also against Southampton. And there were bloody heroes all over the pitch, weren't they? And Didi and Pereira both put in 8 tackles and interceptions. Chilwell was immense too, of course, got that opening goal, 2 tackles, 4 aerial duels, 1 dribble, 6 key passes as well from left back, 3 shots. 3 shots, 2 assists. Barnes also, great to see he's been included more consistently now, because Leicester do benefit when James Maddison occupies that 10 space and he goes out wide on the left. 88% pass accuracy, 5 dribbles, 3 shots and an assist. But Perez, he's finally come good. He's finally got some goals on the board, hasn't he? His hat-trick to go with 4 tackles and interceptions, 5 dribbles, 1 key pass and 7 shots. An awful lot of numbers in that second section. I've peppered you with them there. So we'll wrap this up. It doesn't get any easier for Southampton now, does it? Back-to-back games against Manchester City. Hassan Hurtel, his goal difference could be
Will he survive it?
minus 126.
Do you think he survives both of those games? Or
I don't think he's going to be judged by those 2 games. I'd like to see the fixtures immediately afterwards. I'm imagining he'll have to pick up a fair amount of points following that double header.
I think they'll hold off, lose to Man City twice, and then let the new manager, whoever it is, come in and at least have a fresh start post Manchester City. There's no point bringing a manager in to then go twice away to City and get hammered both games.
Maybe they'll see where they are at come Christmas, and then if they do bring a new manager in, at least he has that window, eh? What do you guys think? Should Southampton stick with Hassan Hurtel or not? Let us know in the comments below.
Moving on to the winners, I'm a happy boy. We're back, baby. Manchester United beat Norwich. Massive result. Mufasa 1-2-3-5 sent this one in.
Yeah, we'll give you this one because they have been featuring pretty bloody regularly in the losers section, haven't they? But produced their best away performance since PSG, I'm hearing, Joseph, at Carrow Road, beating a struggling Norwich 3-1. Also missing 2 penalties in the game, 1 for Rashford, 1 for Martial, meaning they've now missed 4 penalties already this season. That is hounding. The decisions, both controversial, both given, both look soft, to be perfectly honest. Even Ole Gunnar Solskjaer said this.
I don't agree with that one. I don't think it's a penalty.
But it doesn't really take away from what was a very well-rounded performance. 54% possession, 21 shots with 11 on target. Limited Norwich to just 3 shots on target in reply to. Tim Krul, though, a little bit like Gazaniga, had one for the memory, didn't he? Saving both penalties, made a miraculous save from Martial as well from about 3 yards out, which is reflected in the XG, which had the score down as 1-5 in Manchester's favour. That was including penalties as well, right?
Yeah.
As for Norwich, their horrific run of form continues, won once since August 17th. They're now in the worst form of any team in the League Two, having conceded 20 and scored just 7 in their last 9. Daniel Farke is well aware that they need to resolve this form.
There will be some tough times, and sometimes there will be the wind in our face. We didn't expect that we have such an injury course, if I'm honest, but this is a situation we have to handle at the moment, and it's important that we don't lose our nerves, but it's also important that we improve and that we learn our lessons like today, and we have to play more mature and physical, especially on this level.
Let's come back to Manchester United though, because the return of Anthony Martial is a massive positive for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. He was playing in that front three with Marcus Rashford shifted back out onto the left. Much better out there. And Dan James on the right. Some stats about Martial starting for Manchester United versus not in the team. He started 13 times under Solskjaer. United have won 77% of the game, scored 2.3 goals per game and won 2.4 points. Without Martial starting, that win percentage drops to just 28%, 1.1 goals and 1.2 points. So massively improved with Martial starting, and his combinations with Marcus Rashford are a joy to behold. Rashford getting his 50th goal on the day for Manchester United. And you know what? He has taken pelters this season, hasn't he? From a lot of corners of the footballing community. But he's got 8 goal contributions in 10 this season. That's better than Aubameyang. That's better than Kane. It's the same as Sterling. It's the same as Salah. So I think people just need to relax. If he'd have scored his 2 penalties as well, that'd be 10 in 10. So he's taken loads of stick for Manchester United and he's become a little bit of a scapegoat. Dan James also continuing his excellent start. I think anybody saw it coming. £18 million is all he cost. He's got 5 goal involvements too. One on the day was a fantastic crossfield ball to Marcus Rashford.
Really good crossing on both feet, actually.
Yeah, he's
Dan
becoming
James.
a fan favourite very quickly. And talking of fan favourites, talk about Scott McSauce. At it again, easily United's best central midfielder. 4 dribbles, 2 chances created, 5 tackles and interceptions on the weekend. And the only real negative for Solskjaer was the news after the game that Pogba is going to be out until December with that broken toe. Just doesn't seem to be happening for Pogba, does it? You get that sense behind the scenes that he's probably called it a day.
Are we going to ignore McTominay getting robbed for the last goal as well?
Yeah, why not? He did enough. He already scored, didn't he? So
Right, fair enough.
not too bad of a performance, but either way, it's only Norwich. Let's just calm down.
Michael Welch's suggestion rounding off the show then, and he has put Marco Silva firmly in our losers section. I feel like we're just handing out P45 today.
Oh dear, Unai Emery probably on the chopping block. Hassan Hüttl on the chopping block. Talking of another manager on the chopping block, it is Marco Silva. Obviously watched his side throw away a 2-1 lead against Brighton to lose 3-2. A real shocker. They're in 16th place with just 10 points from 10 games. And he has spent an awful lot of money since he joined the club as well. Talking about some of the incidents, obviously VAR was involved again. A judge, Michael Keane, to have stamped on Aaron Connolly. We saw Maupay score from the spot. Then Digne put it into his own net as well, didn't he? To gift Brighton all 3 points. And I think some people thought Marco Silva might have bought a little bit of time after that good result against West Ham. But this just throws all of that out the window. Puts himself straight back in the crosshairs, doesn't he? I mean, since Iranian billionaire Fahad Mashiri bought a controlling stake in Everton back in 2016, they have been extremely aggressive in the transfer market, especially under Marco Silva. They've got the 8th highest net spend of any club in Europe, not just the Premier League, in the whole of Europe. £189 million. So much money pumped into the club and such little to show for it, Hamill.
More worryingly, in the 24 matches that they've gone behind under Marco Silva, they have failed to win a single one, losing 20 and drawing 4. Now, Silva did blame VAR for the defeat, saying it was inconsistent in its use throughout the game, a common theme from the weekend. But the blame may begin to fall with him. Now, if he is still there for the next few games, they host Watford in the League Cup and then Tottenham in the league. So a difficult double header there. Marco Silva, is he deserving of more time than the names we mentioned before? Let us know in the comments below. Let's finish this show before we give anyone else the chop, Joseph. What else should the fine people at home go and watch?
Go and watch Euro Football Daily. Today's ERU will feature all of the biggest teams from across the continent. That's why we're only focusing on the Premier League here, Hamill.
Yeah, exactly. And go and check out Squad Goals if you haven't done so already. I believe you boys played a game blindfolded, which sounds stupid.
Bye.